My name is Edlyn Pena, and I am the director of the Autism and Communication Center. I am super thrilled to have our intern, Samuel Capozzi, with you today. He's doing a live chat, and we have his lovely mother accompanied by him, Kathy Capozzi, and they are super excited to share their experiences with you. Samuel has received a number of pre-recorded questions, or actually they were communicated in advance, and he has taken the time to type out his answers and responses to those questions. So he has pre-recorded responses on his iPad, and he'll be answering your questions. We have a bunch of those. And then afterwards, there should be some time for us to do a live Q&A. And at that time, I will facilitate that. So we'll take questions over the chat function. You'll notice that I've muted all of your microphones so that we can clearly hear Samuel and his iPad. And you can feel free to reach out to us via chat if you have questions once we're done with the pre-recorded answers. So with that, I will turn it over to Samuel and Kathy. Thank you so much for joining us.
We can unmute it from here.
Great.
Okay, can you hear us? Can you guys hear us? Can you give us a wave if you can hear us? Yep. All right. Hi. Okay, here you go, Samuel. You're gonna do your yellow.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining me today for this live chat. And a huge thank you to Cal Lutheran Autism and Communication Center, SARTAC, and Dr. Edlyn Pena for hosting me. I'd like to start by introducing my lovely little mom, Kathy, who will support my communication today. For those of you who don't know, I am a junior at Cal State Channel Islands University, and I entered as a freshman. I love being a student in university and plan to attend graduate school. I'm in for the long haul. Delightfully, I am a fellow with the Self-Advocacy Resource and Technical Assistance Center, or SARTAC, and the Autism and Communication Center is hosting my project. This live chat is part of my fellowship project and internship here. I know there are a variety of ages in the audience today, but I'd like to give a special shout out to my young friends. I was you once, but I didn't have a good way to communicate. Many of you do, and I'm so excited about you guys and all that you will accomplish. On that note, can my younger friends let us know your ages by typing it into the response section? I have a prize today for our youngest audience member. It's kind of a swag bag from my college.
Now this is some of what our youngest listener will receive. It's a little bag, and then can you hold that one up? Hold it up right there. Turn it over. There you go. It's got dolphin, CI dolphins. That's the mascot. You can see on Samuel's shirt as well that he is repping his dolphin mascot. So for our youngest listener, this will be coming your way when we establish who that is. We'll be sure to put, if you give us your address, we'll be sure to mail that to you as soon as we can. And with that, while we wait, we can come back to that, can't we?
Yes.
Yeah. With that, Samuel's going to just go ahead and start answering your questions. So, like Dr. Pena said, we had questions come in up until Monday, and Samuel spent a lot of time thinking about how to answer and answering all of your questions. And so he's going to start, and let's get that going. So they're number one.
What helped you in the early years of using the letterboards that helped you get to where you are today? Well, Susan, truth be told, I had a rather quick response to spelling on the letterboard and getting to open communication. Keep in mind that I was 16 and a half at the time and have a fairly regulated body. I am now 22. I think being committed to being on the boards regularly will benefit both the speller and the communication partner. Thankfully, my mom always began with the no-pressure speech at the beginning of each session. She would say, "There's no right or wrong in this, we just need to work on it." Coming from a background where things were definitely right or wrong at every turn, this gave me some relief and it became fun.
So that was question 1. We'll move to question 2.
What did the people around you, such as teachers and therapists, do that was helpful in the process of getting into and being successful in college? And what do you wish they had done differently? As cliché as it may sound, they believed in me. They believed in me with their actions and words. For example, when it was time for me to request accommodations for the SAT, my teachers and therapists took their respective roles very seriously while filling out their forms and evaluations. We worked hard together to explain my needs and what had been working well thus far. This meant the world to me, to be taken seriously. Reflecting on what I wish some of my teachers and therapists had done differently, I suppose to have a more open mind about the possibilities within their students. That is, not any specific method is the answer or solution to every challenge. We need to keep searching for methods and approaches that reach every student, every person. I feel like once I was diagnosed with autism, I was placed in a very tiny box as far as my potential. We need to rethink autism and other diagnoses that limit potential and that don't presume competence. Good question, Kelly.
Yes. So now we'll move to question 3.
This question is from Carol, a friend. Other than your immediate family, who or what has been your greatest supporter to overcome obstacles? Challenging question, but I think my faith in the Lord has been my sustaining grace. I also had a teacher in high school that really believed in me and respected my abilities as an intellectual student, not only a disabled student. I love Latin because of her. At a time when I was spreading my wings in the world of social communication, age-level academics, and new environments, having even one person be a champion in my corner helped me press on even when I was overwhelmed. I have learned so much and developed my self-advocacy skills since the beginning, yet it's still so valuable to have people truly believe in you and support you. Thanks, Carol.
Yes, we have to look. Okay.
This is a question from Manisha. What made you to reveal yourself? I suppose my ability to communicate and the feeling that I was being taken seriously. If people don't believe in you, it's hard to trust that they are going to help you with communication. As much as we want to communicate, if we don't have a reliable means to communicate, we're stuck. Thank you for your question. These related questions are from Colleen. How did you begin the college admission process? Did you have an awareness and information meeting with the admissions personnel to receive approval to apply to the college with the accommodation of a communication partner? And do you use both the laminate board and typing for college work? Hi, Colleen. Yes, I do use both the laminate board and wireless keyboard to do my work. I find the laminate board fastest in lectures. It's pretty fast pace. As far as the college admission process, I took the typical steps as any other high school senior. However, I did meet with the Disability Services Office at each campus I applied to. I don't think I ever thought I needed approval more than I felt we needed to understand and collaborate together. I believe I knew it was not common to have a communication partner, but I felt once they knew the College Board approved my accommodation of a communication partner to take the SAT, they would likely understand not to get ahead of President and the Americans with Disabilities Act. Actually, I didn't face any resistance, which did surprise me a bit. Thanks for these important questions. This question is from Francois. How did you prepare for standardized tests like the ACT or SAT? Was this a difficult milestone to applying to college? This is an important question that many in our community would like to understand more about. Yes, accessing the SAT was probably the biggest hurdle in the application process. My mom was able to speak with a full inclusion specialist who suggested strategies to get the accommodations I needed. These included getting the proper evaluations with the proper professional explanations, learning the language of the College Board and their representatives, and starting as soon as you can to get all of the proper paperwork that explains why your student needs this or that accommodation. I only sat for the SAT once. We looked at it like the Super Bowl, just one time. I sat for over 6 hours with breaks to take the test. Was it hard? Yes, but so worth it to me. Thank you for your question.
You're going to go to number 7.
Nicole G asks what I feel is important for school psychologists working with high school students on the spectrum to communicate about post-secondary placement. Excellent question. Well, I think just like any population, college isn't for everyone. However, if your students communicate a desire to access higher education, I think you should take them seriously. How and when each individual reaches that goal will vary dramatically. It may mean a student needs to commit to improving their math or writing skills, or explore possible supports that they may need that they're unaccustomed to. Or perhaps they need to learn more about various post-secondary programs. For example, I attended a college skills workshop for individuals on the spectrum here at California Lutheran University while I was still in high school. At the time, I was the only non-speaking, autistic student. However, there were a variety of students represented. Several students knew with certainty they wanted to pursue post-secondary education, others were on the fence. A few decided against it upon realizing all that was involved, and still others became excited with the new information. I imagine some have pursued other programs even if not college. Thanks for your openness to know how to best support your students, and I hope this is helpful. Best to you. Eugene would like to know what skills I would recommend younger kids focus on to be ready for college. Hands down, being self-regulated as much as possible. Sitting through lectures with other students requires a certain amount of self-regulation. It seems most everything else can be accommodated, but this is hardest to manage. It pains me to even say, because I know how hard my peers work and how hard their parents and therapists work to support this. It's not like anyone is just sitting around. But frankly, this is the truth. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this should be a strong focus, in my humble opinion. Our brains are able to deliver, it's our bodies that often leave us feeling helpless. Even still, everyone faces their own obstacles and challenges that place them on their own respective paths. Eugene also asked if many college kids are patient enough to really engage with me. Although I haven't made any close friends, my experience on the college campus is much different than any other time in my life socially. It's refreshing to have conversations about social, political, or economic topics. My peers often defer to me after about 2 weeks of class time together. Laugh out loud. Sometimes they will join my communication partner, Ariel, and me for lunch. It's pretty cool. Thank you to Michael for this next question. He asks what supports helped me attend college. Okay, get ready for this because it's a long list. I have the support of my communication partner at all times. I have extended time for exams. I can take my exams in a quiet private room in the Disability Services office. Early registration for my classes. Audio textbooks. Note taker. I'm allowed to tape lectures if I want to. Preferential seating. Stand-up breaks if necessary. And the help of my amazing counselor who helps me to navigate everything. I also meet my professors in advance, which really seems to set the stage for success. Another question is about anxiety and how I keep it from stopping what I want to do. This is the million-dollar question with no hard and fast answer. I wish there was. What works for one person doesn't work for another. For me, I spend a lot of time working on overcoming my sensory overload through physical activity, which helped my anxiety too. I still deal with anxiety, but I am able to self-regulate through it after years of being unable to. I can't tell you exactly how I got here other than through blood, sweat, tears, and a lot of prayer.
Okay. Number 10. Oh, wait, let's find it. There it is. 10.
Everyone's friend, Julie S.J. asks, what is your process like when you do homework? It's definitely a process, Julie. I listen to my text on audio, and my CP may take notes. I use simple templates to structure long essays, and I sit next to my CP while we look at my assignments and decide how to divide and conquer. Laugh out loud. It definitely takes a lot of patience and time. There are no smoke and mirrors. On a good day, I suppose it takes me 3 times longer to complete my assignments versus neurotypical students. She also asks, what role does your communication partner play outside of class time when studying? My CP supports my communication, regulation, and social interactions on campus. I like to have exchanges with my peers and professors as well as get smoothies and pizza. It's the little things, Julie, the study breaks. Laugh out loud.
Okay, so number 11.
This next question is from my dad. He wants to know who is my favorite parent. Haha. I will simply say this. I scored in the parent department. Big time.
Thank you. 12.
William T. says, how is it even possible that Samuel can sit still in uni? Laugh out loud. Great question, William. I know this is on a lot of people's minds, especially those with dysregulation. Truth be told, I am fairly regulated. It wasn't always this way. I had a difficult time getting regulated. It's still hard. I can sit for long periods of time, which is super helpful when sitting in lectures. I think it's important to address the mind-body disconnection as much as possible through occupational therapy, physical activity, and such as this seem to help me with this. Of course, this is just my experience, but other autistics have shared similar experiences. Also, if this is a goal, perhaps you could practice sitting and listening to someone read, lecture, or a TED Talk with others who struggle to sit too. Press on, William T. This next question is all the way from British Columbia. Shannon and Damon would like to know if my stamina and tolerance of environments has improved since high school, or was I always so focused and composed? I get this question a lot because I am a fairly regulated guy on the outside. I say this because I deal with a lot of anxiety nonetheless. Yes, I have found that once I was in lectures, and my mind was being intellectually stimulated, I began to fidget less and slow down a bit. Actually, I think I began to build stamina in high school by attending classes 3 times a week and working from home the others. I think getting used to new routines and patterns helps as well. And no, I wasn't always this focused and composed. I felt like I was coming out of my skin for years, with puberty being really fun. My folks felt particularly persuaded to address my sensory overload with occupational therapy, physical therapy, gymnastics, etc. We continue to seek help in dealing with my high anxiety. Of course, this is just my experience. Please say hello to my friend Damon for me. My friend Isaiah from Canada sent this question in. Please really just can you tell us better how to succeed academically? Oh Isaiah, I don't think you'll have much trouble with the academics, my young friend. You have an incredible brain and penchant for learning. There are many things I could suggest as far as strategies, but my greatest piece of advice to you is to give it your all, but don't be too hard on yourself. I understand the desire to demonstrate your capabilities, your intelligence, but we don't need to prove ourselves. Don't get me wrong, I understand being driven and striving for excellence. However, we are enough. Your success will speak for itself. You have amazingly supportive family and friends, great support with your spelling and typing, math skills, and opportunities opening up to you. Enjoy the journey, even though you will face obstacles, trials, you will excel academically. Of this I'm certain. My fellow Autism Society board member, Kelly, asked this next question. Hey man, thanks for joining the chat today. Your question reads, which AAC device or AT in your past do you feel gave you the most hope that you would be able to develop communication as you have today? At what point in your life was this? You may be surprised to know that I didn't start to use AAC until 5 years ago, at the age of 16. Because I have some speech, although limited and unreliable, I was never considered as a candidate for AAC or AT device. So, it wasn't until my mom began to hear about rapid prompting method and research it, that my world of communication opened as it is now. As with most things, there are several schools of thought surrounding methods to support non-speaking autistics' communication. Of course, there are disagreements as well. For me, I am passionate about supporting communication overall and everyone finding what works for their loved ones or students. We need to communicate, it's a basic human right. However, I had great success beginning extremely low-tech, making choices, spelling my choice, and then worked to more open communication, with the final step being the wireless keyboard and iPad. I would be happy to speak with you about it in more depth later. Best to you and your family. William T. has another question and wants to know if people believe that I can do the same work as them. As far as I know, they do. I think once you see a non-speaking autistic engaged in spelling and typing to communicate, it's something you can't unsee. Once we are engaged with the reasoning side of our brain, it's hard to deny it's us. Truthfully, I feel like once I am able to contribute to the conversation, my peers begin to realize quickly that I am intelligent and capable. I am often sought after when it comes to group work, which I think is a good sign. You might also find it interesting that I am in the National Academic Honor Society. I enjoy rubbing elbows with other overachievers. How do you approach a testing situation? Thank you, Shazia, for this question. This was one of my greatest concerns upon entering college. The Disability Office on each college or university campus can assist students with the proper accommodations. One of my accommodations is having extra time for my exams and the option to test in the Disability Office, which I usually do. My communication partner is allowed to support my communication, read passages out loud if necessary, be my scribe, or assist with the wireless keyboard. Audio text is available, and I can take breaks as needed. I strongly suggest you visit and discover as much information as you can about each university disability program, as they are not all equal. I have found both my professors and the Disability Services Office are willing to collaborate on possible solutions or new options. Best to you. This last question comes from Balaji. They want to know about independence and generalization with typing. I am working toward independent typing and do some. It's very difficult to get all of the motor planning together and keeping up with my mind. That is the brilliance of harnessing one finger to gain control of an otherwise out of sync motor system. I do have several typers that are entirely independent in their typing. It took a lot of work to get there, and yet there are many autistics that work very hard and may never be independent, even if their thoughts, ideas, and answers are autonomous.
Okay, so that was the end of the pre-recorded. He has, okay. He just has a little thing that just says time for questions, but that's fine if you, okay. So do the green.
We have time for a few questions. Please be patient as I spell my responses. Thank you. I will move between my letterboard and wireless keyboard to demonstrate.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and transition to live questions. Anybody can ask a question on the chat group area. And just to remind you all, if any of you young non-speaking individuals on there want to mention how old you are, Kathy and Samuel have a swag bag for the youngest caller in. So far, Sid, who's 11 years old, is in the lead. And if anyone else wants to chime in, it's great to see all the young self-advocates on here. So we have a question here from Brian, who's a 25-year-old non-speaker. And he asks, I want to ask you about life as an autistic adult. Can you elaborate on how you battled your anxiety?
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not an easy road. But I understand how
How?
so many peers but I understand how so many peers right.
Yeah.
That was my I wasn't paying attention completely. How many peers? Are curious about my experience. I have a lot. LFANXIETY. I have a lot of anxiety. It's true. ITRYTOKEEPIT. I try to keep it TOGETHER. I try to keep it together in PUBLIC. I try to keep it together in public. ANDSTIMLIKE. And STEM like CRAZYWHEN. When I get home, I do pray a lot, and I use, keep going, and I use Rescue Remedy too. Rescue Remedy is I think a lot of people know what it is, but that one's always in the back pocket. It's a homeopathic little drops under the tongue that can sometimes be helpful. I also sleep with essential oils, and I think that helps.
Yes.
Done? Okay.
Great, thank you. We had, so it looked like Heidi had the same question, so we've answered that about how to deal with anxiety. Thanks to Brian and Heidi for those questions. And Izzy has a question. What app did you use just now for the prepared questions?
It's called, oh, okay, so. It's called Proloquo for text. Get it? Hi, Izzy. So nice to hear Good. So nice to hear from you.
Yes.
So it's Proloclo for text. I don't know if you're familiar with Proloclo to go, but it's in that same family, and it's been good. Samuel, I think you really like that because you can change voices um, and it's just much more user friendly than many of the other apps that we've used that have just been much more simple. But we did go through some training on this. I recommend that, and I believe that you would too, right? Let's see.
Yes.
Yes. The training is really helpful, and I think they'll even help you if they're able to at the Apple Store. It is not an Apple app, but they're pretty familiar, so training is important.
Great, thank you. We have a question from our friend Emma Cladis. She wants to know, Samuel, if this presentation is good for you to do. She says she hopes you're having fun, and I think God is with you.
Yes.
Oopsie. H-I-E-M-M-A. Hi, Emma. Stoked to be H-E-R-E. Stoked to be here. It's so fun.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, we have a question from Francois Tina. What courses are you taking in college, and how many do you take in one semester?
Good.
Good.
Q-U-E-S-T-I-O-N. Good question. This
Yes.
Y-E-A-R. This year, I-T-O-O-K-N-I-N-E. I took 9 units each semester, but I took, keep going, I took 12 Okay. I took 12 for 2 years. So 12 units each semester for 2 years. This is the first semester you took 9, which is 3 classes per semester. And it's been going better with 9. I think my rad CP, Ariel, would agree.
Yes.
Mom agrees too. But Samuel, you also take a summer course each summer. So that helps to kind of keep the momentum of classes going.
Great. So the next question is from Colleen. Do you find that spelling with friends in group sessions helps you both emotionally and with your spelling skills?
FOR, for sure. It's the best.
No.
And I
I.
love it. And I love it so much because there's so M-U-C-H, there's so much, because there's so much unspoken and and yet understood.
Yes.
Do you want to switch to the keyboard?
Yes.
We're going to switch to the keyboard just so he can demonstrate. Hopefully we won't have any technical. We had it going, of course. This sometimes we find a little bit of trouble with this keyboard and this app, and part of it I think is just because Samuel has a very old iPad here. So we may have to switch to a different app, which you typically don't like because you don't like the voice. You said it sounds too robotic, but we may have to do that. So let me switch there really quickly. Bear with us. Okay, we're connecting. For some reason, it disconnected. So I think we should be good to go. Samuel wanted to also demonstrate him typing using the wireless keyboard. He's very accurate. It goes just a little bit slower, but I think we're among friends and don't even need to explain any of that. But so he's good to go with this for a question.
Okay, great. So we'll move on to the next question?
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. So Samuel will be typing on his wireless keyboard. And we have a question from Dana Johnson. Hi, Dana. She asked, how did the colleges respond to your needed accommodations? For instance, a communication partner for testing, for taking tests and the SATs, etc.
I was delighted by their responses. I think once they understood that I am serious. They began to get on bored.
So I'll read that back. He says, I was delighted by their responses. I think once they understood that I am serious, they began to get on board. Do you like me to explain a little bit about that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I think once we, like you had answered in one of your questions earlier, I believe that once the colleges and the disability services offices understood that College Board had approved his accommodation, several accommodations, including a communication partner, as part of that highly standardized and structured and testing situation, that it seemed like they felt I can't think of the word, but they felt like that was legitimate. So that's just kind of our perspective on it. But also, I think when you see Samuel self-advocating as much as you have, and really explaining and pleading his case and his cause, that it was hard for them to not take him seriously and, like he said, get on board.
All right, thank you. So we have a question from Sid, who's so far our youngest listener. So his message is, my motor is very weak. God gave me an extra disorder, Down syndrome. Because of this, nobody believes I'm gifted. Do you think I could go to college?
I think that you have a calling and you should follow it. Side.
Sid. So far he says, yes, I think that you have a calling and you should follow it, Sid.
Be brave. M. Follow. Your. Dreams.
Be brave and follow your dreams. So the whole thing is, yes, I think you have a calling and you should follow it, Sid. Be brave and follow your dreams.
Yes. Yes.
That's wonderful advice for all of the listeners, I think. Thank you, Samuel.
Yes.
So we have time for one more question. And the last question we have here is from Colleen. the question is, how many communication partners do you have?
I have 2. My
So on that, it said my. The N on his, we call it his Terminator keyboard because there's just keys all over. The N didn't work, but it does say MAI, and he's touched the N, but it didn't work. So he says, my main CP
is Ariel at school. My Mo M
mom.
acts as my CP. 2.
So my main CP is Ariel at school. My mom acts as my CP too. So Ariel does the majority of she does all of his class, lectures, labs, anything like that on campus, and she does the majority of your homework with you. But at times there's still stuff that needs to be done at home, like reading, various things that then I will help and act as CP at home. So he has 2.
Yes.
Wonderful. So that concludes the Q&A portion of the session. And I know Samuel worked really hard on making sure he could get to all the questions that were given to him in advance. He spent a lot of time coming up with those questions. So we want to thank Samuel. And Samuel, I don't know if you want to say anything before we close, if you'd like to add any thoughts. It's up to you.
True letter bird. So FUNTODAY. So fun today. Thanks. Do you want to do your goodbye right there? That's that orange, yeah.
Wow, I'm so honored you spent your time with me today. I tried to get to everyone's excellent questions, but if yours wasn't heard, it's because I answered it in another response. This has been so fun for me. Being a part of this community is a treasure, and your desire to hear my story is humbling. I still have to pinch myself that this is my life, metaphorically speaking. Laugh out loud. Thank you again, and so long.
That was awesome. So we thank Samuel. I also want to thank the SARTAC organization, who is funding his fellowship with the Autism and Communication Center and is making this activity possible. We're really proud of Samuel, and we're really excited that all of you joined us today. Samuel is such a role model for all of the young individuals who type and spell to communicate and who desire to go to college. So we are really looking forward to doing more of these, hopefully in the future, or events. Just so some of you know, if you're in the California area in August, we have a really incredible workshop on August 18th. It's going to focus on building independence in communication with Grant Blasco. He'll be coming in from Washington, and it's going to be a wonderful workshop. So I know a lot of you had questions about independence and communication and building those skills, and hopefully some of you can join us for that. So with that, we hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for joining us. We will reach out to you with more information. And Sid, it looks like you are probably the youngest person on the call, which we are really appreciative of. We will make sure to get your mailing information so we can mail you your swag bag. All right, everyone, have a good night. Take care. Bye.
Bye.